So I had to work on the solar panels again yesterday. Yeah, they're working on great now, both sides. I have two sets of charge controllers, and I think a deer came through here and ripped the wires out of two of them, and they were right across from each other. I think it just walked right through the whole center of it and ripped them out. We've had an onslaught of deers here in the last few days, so, and they're not scared of us at all. So that's all right. I don't mind working on them, and they're not that hard. It's if you get a good sunny day like today where there's no clouds in the sky, they're easy to work on. It's when you have cloudy days and you got to work on them, whew, that's tough. Because you'll get, you'll repair one and then you want to test it. Well, the sun's underneath the clouds. You're like, well, I'm not really sure if it's producing enough amps. I think the broken one, the one with the broken glass, oops, I forgot to put a cover back on, is not producing much anymore. I think it's about shot. So that's okay. I mean, one panel, I can replace it. And just so you know, somebody's going to say, well, no, it doesn't work, it's all broke. What you have is you have a protective glass over the panels themselves. And that glass just continuously fragments more and more. So I think it's just shaded from all the fragmenting. So I want to talk about generators just for a second. This is a cheap inverter generator that I bought 2 years ago. I think I got it for $300. And it doesn't even really have enough power to run the refrigerator or the freezer. Well, it doesn't. I don't understand it because it says it's, I forget what it says, 1500 watts. So the initial start up the freezer, most motors are like this, will have more power during startup. It will require more power during startup than it does during runtime. So this has 1500 watts peak. That's what it's called, peak. And I think it's 1000 watts regular runtime. I forget exactly. But it doesn't want to run on startup. Of course, there's ways around that. You could buy a condenser, I think it's called a condenser, capacitor, that's what it's called. But I just use this to run the battery charger. Now, the reason I think there's something, it's never been right about it, or it's false advertisement, whatever you want to call it, is my inverter is 1000 watts peak. And it runs the freezer just fine. So, I say that, it may not be. I may have just lied to you. I'm sitting here talking about it and I thought, wait a minute, it may be 2000 watts peak. Let's go take a look. I'm not really sure. So this one's 2000 watts. It doesn't say what the peak power is on this. This one's 1000 watts. Yeah, it doesn't say what the peak is on that one either, so I don't know, to be honest. So maybe the peak power is double on the inverters. Well, that makes sense then. I could have been thinking wrong all this time until I said something. My phone is doing something crazy. Let me check this out. Oh, an app opened up on me. I'm waiting for a phone call, which I'm going to tell you about here in a minute. So getting back to this generator, it's 2 years old. It's a little Chinese made thing, and they don't sell them on Amazon anymore. That's where I got it. And it has ran great. I was really worried about buying this, but it sits out here in the weather, and I thought, if it lasts a year, it's fine. Now, admittedly, it is using oil now. It didn't when we first bought it, And so I have to add oil probably, I don't know, maybe every 10 hours I have to add oil because the low oil shutoff goes off. So I just change the oil every time the low oil shutoff goes off. I just change it because it has such a low quantity of oil. That's the thing, is it's not really burning a lot of oil. There's just not much in it. So when the level goes down even a little bit, it shuts off. The dipstick still has oil on it, so you can look at the dipstick and say, oh no, it's got plenty of oil. But so I think it's good that it's just a good reminder to change oil quickly. I've always changed it at 25 hours regardless. So it's been a good generator. It's unfortunate they don't sell them anymore. I'm not sure if there's a replacement to them, but it just runs first pull every time. So telling you why I was carrying my phone around. Typically I don't carry it around. So I have this customer, and he's brought his mower to me twice for different reasons, and I think he's pretty happy with our performance. So last time he picked up his mower, he says, my dad's got a mower and it's smoking really bad, and he was wondering if you'd replace the engine. And I said, well, I mean, let's take a look at it before we go and jump to the extreme of replacing the engine. It could be blown head gasket, or something's wrong. You know, the oil sump has filled up too much and it's blowing smoke that way. Could be a lot of things. Or maybe it would be cheaper to just replace the rings. So, but it's $1,100 for a new engine. So he told his dad about this, I guess. So last night he calls, and I didn't know who it was. And he says, yeah, my son told me about you. And I was like, oh man, the way he said it, I thought, man, what does that mean? To give you a little backstory why that kind of bothered me. I used to cut grass. Back in 2003 when I was trying to get my consulting business off the ground, I was cutting grass in the summer. And I think we charged 20 bucks a lawn, 10 or 20 bucks a lawn, I don't remember. And we would get some of these customers who hadn't cut their lawn all summer, and they would finally give us a holler. And so these houses in this town were just packed tight, and it was nearly impossible to keep your grass, the grass you were cutting, off the neighbor's lawn. You would do all kinds of things you tried, but remember, the grass is 16 feet tall, so, and you're trying to do it for 20 bucks. And so apparently I blew grass on the neighbor's truck, his new pickup truck. Obviously I didn't mean to do that, but you know, there just wasn't a lot of room between the strip I had to cut, the truck, and the house, and it was just, so anyway, I didn't know I did anything wrong, so moved on. Well, I don't know, a few weeks later, I'm cutting somebody else's grass completely on the other side of town, and this guy stops and says, do you cut that grass over there on such and such street? And I was like, yeah. Well, my son told me about you. Same exact thing the guy said last night. And back then I thought, oh, okay, maybe he wants his grass cut. You blew grass on my son's brand new truck. And I'm thinking, well, why didn't the son tell me this? What is it? Why is the father coming and talking to me? So last night I get the call, and it flashed back in my head. He's gonna chew me out because his son's not happy with his lawnmower. I mean, it's not like I did anything wrong. It ran great when it left here. So he says, anyway, do you remember such and such, you know, my customer's name? I said, oh yeah, I've worked on this mower. And he says, yeah, you told me about you and said that you're suggesting that we take a look at some other things before we jump into fixing or replacing the engine. I said, yeah, the engine's $1,100. He said, oh yeah, I don't want to spend that much. So I don't know how much he was expecting to spend. So he says, okay, I don't have a way to get it on my trailer, so I'll call my son and see if he can help me get it on the trailer, and I'll bring it over tomorrow. Great, okay, fine. He wanted to start it up, and I was a little bit concerned about that because if the oil is thinned out because there's water or gasoline in it, then you can hurt the engine. So I talked him out of that. So he said, oh, he'll get his son. Well, he calls back maybe 10 minutes later. Says, okay, my son's going to come over and help me load it up. Will you be there around 6 or 7 p.m.? And I said, no, I close at 7. Now, remember, he said earlier that he was going to bring it over this morning. I said, is bringing it over in the morning still an option? Oh, yeah, I can bring it over tomorrow morning. Well, the morning is over with. So I don't understand people. I say this all the time. I really enjoy working on lawnmowers. I enjoy cutting grass, but I don't enjoy working with the customers. It's a real struggle for me to deal with people. I don't understand them. He could have just simply said, no, tomorrow morning it's not going to work for me. I need to bring it over tonight. But, I'm trying really hard not to interfere in Carolyn's time. If it's 5 o'clock, can I get there at 5? And be like, yeah, I understand that. The 4 o'clock thing was just, what I try to do is keep my hours from 6 to 4. And there's even Saturday, so it's not like we're completely closed up during working hours. If you can come in on Saturday, you drop it off on Saturday. But it's amazing how many people want to come in way after hours. It was going to be dark at 7. So how would we have even, unloaded it safely and all that stuff? Because it doesn't run. He said it ran, but then his son came over and tried to start it. It didn't run anyway. So it doesn't run. So that means I would have had to tow it over here in the dark. So I felt like, that's pretty late to me. I don't understand that. Any other shop would say no. Now, some shops you can drop the mower off. I guess there's arrangements that can be made or something, but I Googled it. There's a lot of shops that actually have insurance that doesn't allow them to drop it off after hours, which absolutely makes sense. You got a guy rummaging around the lot, dropping off his mower, hoping he doesn't steal another mower. So, yeah, I understand that. So, I don't understand why it's being so unreasonable. Some woman called me at 9:30-ish, I think. Says, do you have any lawnmowers for sale? I guess it was not. No, I'll back up. I know what it was. Called me during the day. Said, do you have any lawnmowers for sale? I said, no. I have a push mower, but no riding mowers. She says, well, yeah, I'll take that. I'll come over tomorrow and get it. Okay, great. And we had a time arranged and everything. Anyway, so she called like 9:30 and said, I'm going to come over tonight and pick up that lawnmower. Well, I go to bed at 8:30. I know a lot of people think that's nuts, and I get it, but I just think that there is a, 9 o'clock should be like a cutoff. When I was a kid, no, but you weren't allowed to call or receive calls after 9. It better be a real emergency. Why is people calling at 9:30? But this is not, like it happens every now and then. It happens all the time. Even in the Facebook groups, the ones I complain about so much because they really don't know how to work on lawnmowers, complain about customers on lawnmowers calling at all hours of the night. Watched one YouTube video, and the guy called him at midnight and wanted it warrantied. Can you imagine getting up at midnight, half groggy, and, yeah, I'm bringing that mower over. And here's what was so funny. I'm bringing that mower. So he's blitzed out of his mind. I'm going to bring that mower over because you serviced it last spring, and it's got a flat tire now, and I'm going to need you to fix that on that warranty that you offer. And so could you imagine, at midnight, you're trying to argue with a guy. You're half tired, and he's half blitzed. That's not covered under a warranty. That's an item that got broke while being used. And well, I understand these people. These people that want everything done under warranty, they don't want to spend money at all. Whether they're broke or they're rich, it doesn't matter. They just don't want to spend money. They want you to go out all expense. And I know this is going to sound silly, but the way I look at it is everybody knows I live in a little shed. I live in a shed. And so these guys from, you know, the lake that own $2 million, $3 million houses come over here and they don't want to pay anything. So they look at my little shed and they say, oh, here's a guy who has no money and he's going to work on my equipment for free. So, I mean, I know I choose to live in a tiny house. I choose that. But you would think that they would think, this guy, he doesn't even have a house. He lives in a shed. Maybe he needs a little money and he wants to work on lawnmowers to make money. Maybe I should just pay the money. You know, I don't get it. So anyway, if you'll click this up next box, take to a video over my other channel. Lord, appreciate it if you go check it out. So if I can inspire you, I don't know, have some fun. So you can live your dreams. Thanks for watching.